This is the all-new 2024 Toyota Grand Highlander. With up to 362 horsepower and room for the whole family, it might just make you forget about the competition. Is this the new SUV king? We're going to check out all the features and then take it for a drive here in Hawaii. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV. Last year, we reviewed Toyota's all-new Sequoia. It was big, expensive, and extremely powerful. But it wasn't for everyone. The four-wheel drive system was part-time only, and not everybody needs 437 horsepower. And that brings us to this, the all-new 2024 Toyota Grand Highlander. As a larger, newer Highlander, it features optional all-wheel drive, room for the whole family, a large number of available powertrains. Are you looking at my watch? This is a limited edition, officially licensed TRD timepiece with solar octane orange accents from Original Grain. They're also the sponsor of this video. Go to originalgrain.com/DSTV to save $100 on any watch from the TRD collection. There are 3 different designs. It includes a sweet hardshell case with a number of useful accessories and a plaque of authenticity. The watch itself has a number of design elements lifted from the Toyota Tundra TRD Pro, including a tasteful amount of solar octane orange accents and the digital camo pattern from the truck's fenders. It also features solar movement and a chronograph function. This metal band has blackwood inlays, and I think it looks really great. It also comes with an optional TRD strap with a tire print on it if you want to mix things up. For more information and to save $100 on any watch in the TRD collection, go to originalgrain.com/DSTV, as in Driving Sports TV. Now, if you can keep your eyes off of my watch, let's talk about this Grand Highlander. Pricing starts at $43,070 US for a front drive XLE with a 2.4-liter turbo engine. Hybrids start at $44,670 with a 2.3-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. The model we're testing today has a top-spec Hybrid Max powertrain. This starts at $54,040 US. The Hybrid Max combines the 2.4-liter Turbo 4 with the hybrid system for a peak output of 362 horsepower and a whopping 400 pound-feet of torque. All-wheel drive is standard on the Hybrid Max and optional on other powertrains. The trim we're testing today is the Platinum, which includes a number of standard features including 20-inch wheels, heated and ventilated second row, a panoramic sunroof, heads-up display, surround view, and a digital rear view. It also has the multi-terrain select system, which we'll try out later. This color is called Storm Cloud. Price as you see it here, $59,460 US including destination. The all-wheel drive system that's standard with the Hybrid Max powertrain includes one electric motor up front to assist the gas engine, as well as a second electric motor that exclusively powers the rear wheels. This is a full-time system that varies output from 70-30 front to back to 20-80. Yes, that is a peak 80% of available power going to just the rear wheels. Because there is no connection between the hybrid system up front and the electric motor in the back, there's a special way that they get that 80% of total power to the back wheels.
The way that's done is the rear motor will actually, because there's no actual mechanical contact between the front and rear, it actually takes the power from the battery. So that's how you will get the extra drive force in the rear of the vehicle. For the front, we still have the transmission that goes from the engine to the related drive shafts in the front, or the other motor in the front for the hybrid system. So you can balance the front. You can also balance the rear by applying a lot more power to the rear. Compared to our current hybrid system, it offers about 30% more in the rear than we do on our current hybrid system. So that's how we get our distribution between front and rear.
The standard transmission on this powertrain is a direct shift 6-speed automatic. EPA rates economy at 27 miles to the gallon combined. Want economy? Go with the front-wheel drive hybrid for an impressive 36 combined. Hybrid trims can tow up to 3,500 pounds. Turbo and hybrid max trims can tow up to 5,000. Ground clearance is rated at 8 inches, which is a little bit better than I would have expected for this type of vehicle. Now, of course, you also get more cargo capacity. That's the Grand in Grand Highlander. 20.6 cubic feet behind the third row, folded down for up to 57.9. All rows flat gives you a massive 97.5 cubic feet overall. But the big question is, can you sleep in it? I'd say not only can you sleep in it, you could probably move the whole family in. The one downside is because it does have captain's chairs. There's a big old gap here that you'll have to fill, but there is a bench option if you want to go that route. Under the floor, you get storage bin, you get a screen, a jack, and under that, oops, I gotta pull this off, a partial spare. Hey, that's kind of a cool wheel there. Huh, doesn't match anything, but it looks good. Up here we have both close and close lock. Okay, third row, let's see what we got. Huh. Well, I am 6'1", legs torso proportionate, and I have tons of room back here for my legs. My head is rubbing on the outside, but overall this really isn't too bad. I have a USB-C socket, lots of cup holders. Actually, it's a nice multi-purpose bin here. Yeah, I'd say this is actually really good. Huh. Okay, well, let's check out the second row. Wait, what does that do? Oh, it's a, I don't know what that switch does. Why is there a second lever there? Anyway, there we go. On the inside here, we have captain's chairs at this trim level. A bench seat is available in lower trims. I have a nice bin here to put my phone as well as some drinks. And then up here I have not only seat warmers, I also have seat coolers, which is really neat to see here. Plus, of course, full aircon control. There's no vents down here. They're actually up here, and it's kind of nice, blows right on my face. For power, we have USB-C as well as an AC socket that outputs 1,500 watts. Okay, oh, we also get an armrest that is adjustable and an extra bin for stuff right here, as well as a privacy screen. Okay, here we are inside. Of course, this is a top-of-the-line platinum trim, so it has all the bells and whistles. We get a really nice over 12-inch digital gauge cluster. We also have a really nice layout here for the infotainment. And I love this setup especially because they give me all this physical switchgear for the aircon, as they should. No reason to go virtual with that. Kind of bugs me even when Toyota does it on their big 14-inch displays. I just don't see a reason for that. Speaking of aircon, this will do multi-zone. You have a zone here, zone back there, and you also get both heated and cooled seats up front at this trim level. This infotainment system, I really like it. It is a version 1.0, and I think that's most apparent when you're on the home screen, which is just a map. I would really like to have a multimodal setup where I can see music and all this other stuff going on, but as it is, map. Now, the map is functional. We can do a lot of different things with it. Hey, Toyota.
How can I help you?
Find the nearest coffee shop.
The closest coffee shop is the market at 68 to 1400 Moanalani Drive.
0.1 miles. Cancel. Yes, you can do navigation, but now let's see if you can do some more advanced stuff. Hey, Toyota.
How can I help you?
Set my temperature to 70 degrees.
Setting the driver's temperature to 70 degrees.
Okay, now here's the real test. Hey, Toyota.
How can I help you?
How old is Britney Spears?
According to Wikipedia, Britney Spears is 41 years old.
41. Okay. See, you can even do lookup, which is really neat. Now, as far as the other stuff here, yes, this is just like every other vehicle we've tested that has this new system. You have XM satellite radio, you have terrestrial, and of course you can also do Apple CarPlay. Now, Apple CarPlay with this vehicle is very easy to use. In fact, where did I put my phone? It's back here. To set it up, all we have to do is go to the phone icon, connect a device, go to Bluetooth setting, do search for devices, Bluetooth, boop, Ryan's iPhone, confirm the code, pair. It is a couple steps, but you only have to do this once when you first get in and first set up the vehicle. And then after that, it'll remember this automatically every time. Allow. Okay, are we there yet? Are we there yet? There we go, enable CarPlay, yes. Oh, I was asking for another thing. Yes, I want to use CarPlay. So many questions, it's easy to miss them. Okay, there we go. So now we have Apple CarPlay, and with this we can of course use the maps for CarPlay, or we can use Siri if we want to ask additional questions. Now one thing I do like with CarPlay is that this is where I wish they would go with their infotainment system. To get this multimodal view where you can just click on home, see a map, and get your audio. Yes, I'm listening to Taylor Swift. And then from here I can jump back to Toyota, which is pretty neat. And then to charge my device, I can just put it on this charging pad down there. For vehicle settings, there's all the stuff that you expect where you can set up climate, trip history graphs, energy flow, so you can see power flowing around the hybrid powertrain. You have the front electric motor and rear electric motor there. In the middle, you see the nickel metal hydride battery. Yes, in a hybrid, a nickel metal hydride battery is fine. You don't need lithium ion. This type of battery is really good at quick charge discharge. And then vehicle alerts. Moving on down, we do have driver profiles, and because this has the facial recognition system, you can tie facial recognition into the profile. And as an extra cool thing, if you own other Toyotas, this profile is portable. So if you get another Toyota vehicle, you get into it, it will also move the settings over, so you don't have to set all of your radio stuff, which is neat. Best thing about this screen is, of course, the fact that it also functions as a camera system. If we go into reverse here, you can see that we have a nice surround view camera plus a backup here. It does have tracking lines, which is really nice. Now in terms of power, we do have two USB-C sockets up here, and in here we get a 12-volt car socket. Moving on down, we have a traditional, fairly traditional drive controller. Below that, we have the multi-terrain select system, which off-road modes. Yes, this has off-road modes, and we are going to try them out later. We get mud, sand, rock, dirt, and then sport and eco drive modes. Now we also get snow mode, which will cut power because this has a lot of power and you're just going to spin wheels if you're on the snow. So that's a useful button in those conditions. And then we also have a hill descent control system button. I don't think we'll get a chance to play with that today, but that basically it brakes individual wheels as you're going downhill to keep you tracking straight. Steering wheel, really nice. It's wrapped and it has these paddle shifters on it. Of course, you have nicely integrated buttons. And then, of course, up here we have the gauge cluster. Not only do we have a cool digital gauge cluster, which gives you lots of great information, this trim level also has a heads-up display. In terms of a rear view mirror, yes, it has a digital camera there, which is neat. And then, of course, this also has Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, which is their latest active safety system that gives you collision mitigation, blind spot warning, rear cross traffic alerts, and then also allows for adaptive cruise control with lane centering. Again, we'll try that out later. Okay, well, let's start to take this for a drive, and then we're going to see how this does in a trail situation, because we're going to climb up a mountain here in Hawaii. Now, I know you want to go off-road with this. I want to go off-road with this, but first, we're going to hit the street to see how well this vehicle handles in everyday driving conditions. And luckily, the roads here in Hawaii are amazing. Floor it. Ooh, listen to that sound. It's so quiet, but it sounds really good. Of course, this has a turbocharged 4-cylinder combined with a potent hybrid system. It will put up to 80% of available torque to the back. And even though that's an electric motor back there, not connected to the front wheels at all, what you still end up with is a rear bias feel. Oh, that's fun. Even when you're just driving on roads like this, which is amazing. Let's go ahead and switch it into sport, because that's the mode you want for roads like this. Whoa. The ups and downs are pretty fun here, and the suspension does a really good job of controlling this rather large crossover. And I think that is one of the big defining factors in this segment. If you put a lot of horsepower behind the wheels of a vehicle like this, if it can't handle that in the corners, on the straights, in the off-road conditions, then it's just not fun to drive. But this one actually is pretty fun for what it is, and that power It's also really, really quiet because they use active noise canceling, which just makes for such a calm quiet here. It's perfect for these hills of Hawaii where it's nice, it's pleasant. The grass is green right now and the sky is blue, and it's like a perfect day. Feel that bias, that 80% max torque to the back. You can feel it doing the work back there. And of course, I have all this great information on the gauge cluster. Up front here, I can see the hybrid power system doing its job, shifting power around the system. I mean, you know, the Sequoia, I think, was a bit of a miss. It was a missed opportunity. With that, they could have made something better off-road with more cargo capacity. And I just feel like there were certain things they didn't think through. But with this vehicle, I have zero complaints. I like the tech, I like the way it drives. I just like everything about it, which I'm kind of surprised I like it this much. I mean, it's just a Highlander, right? Not quite. At this platinum level, there is something that you may like and you may hate. It has a facial recognition system. So when I get into the vehicle, if I key it to my key, then when I get in, it'll adjust the radio stations, it'll adjust the seat, it'll adjust the temperature, it'll adjust my radio presets. I mean, it kind of adjusts everything so that if you have multiple drivers, each one can get in and all the settings are correct. And I think that's a cool feature for multi-driver families. Of course, some people aren't very keen in having the car look at them in the face all the time, and I totally understand that. I get that. I do have a heads-up display. It shows me all the pertinent information. I see that the speed limit, what drive mode I'm in, all that kind of stuff, so that's good. It's not overbearing and massive. And it'll show me directions whether I'm using the built-in system or if I'm using Apple CarPlay, because this does support the card protocol, which will take that information from CarPlay and put it both into the heads-up display as well as the main gauge cluster. It's a cool feature. This does have paddle shifters if you're into that. Personally, on automatics, you know, if it's a Porsche with a paddle shifting system, that's one thing. But a Grand Highlander, I mean, it's good if you want to be able to adjust which of the 6 gears you're in, but I just don't really think it's typically necessary. Nice to have, not really needed. This interior, actually, I really like it. And one thing I like about it is that it's very subtle. Nothing like slaps you in the face. They didn't put the huge 14-inch display that they've been putting on a number of their other vehicles. This is the perfect implementation for their new infotainment system. I like the widescreen look and also giving me physical switchgear beneath it. Like, that is what they should do on all their vehicles. Get rid of that 14-inch unit. We don't need that. This is great. And it gives me all the same useful information that you get in the larger display. And because really, when you're in the larger display, most of the time, the whole bottom is just your aircon. So, like, what's even the point? Oh, I know what the point is. To say it's 14-inch display and it's bigger than the other guys. I'll say in this case, size doesn't really matter. We of course have several drive modes here. It does have 2 off-road modes, and you get that if you have the Hybrid Max setup. We'll try that out a little bit later. Right now we're going to look at the Eco and Sport modes. Now of course Eco, yeah, it deadens the throttle a little bit. It makes it so you're not going to make, you know, aggressive maneuvers. It doesn't really do a lot else though. I mean, it really just, it's for smoothing out your throttle so that you're not using as much gas. And that's fine. It'll probably also adjust the aircon. I don't know what else it does. But the Sport mode is the important one because that makes your throttle more aggressive. Now that we're in Sport mode, the gauge cluster turns red. It's kind of a cool little animation. And with this, what we're going to get is more power to that back motor. It's going to use the battery a lot more aggressively, but it's not going to really change the way it handles all that much. And that's because this doesn't have adaptive suspension. It's just traditional suspension setup. But I think the suspension setup, at least on pavement, is pretty good. I have no complaints about that here. Powering into the corner, oh yeah, I can feel that rear bias, and that is amazing in a vehicle like this. Toyota has said that they don't think this is going to cannibalize Sequoia buyers. Instead, it's going to be winning people over from other brands, but I think this will absolutely dent the Sequoia market, and that's simply because it has so much room. It's a lot more usable room because that Sequoia has the big battery pack in the back, which makes it so that you don't even have a flat floor, and that's just obnoxious in such a big vehicle. But in this one, you get a flat floor. You have lots of cargo area. It's super easy to drive. I have all-wheel drive all the time, again, unlike the Sequoia, which is a part-time four-wheel drive system. And I think that for most buyers, this is going to be plenty capable and plenty fun to drive and very practical. You know what, I'm gonna creep out here. We're gonna try a 0 to 60. Why not? It's a highway. Nobody's here. I'm in sport mode, and 3, 2, 1, punch it. Whoa, is that wheel spin? What the heck? 60. That was pretty quick. For a vehicle of this size, that is plenty quick. And I'm gonna show a little chart right here so you can see where this one compares against other vehicles in the class that we've tested. Now that we're on the highway here, this is a highway for Hawaii. There's no multi-lanes on this part of the island at least. Let's go ahead and try the adaptive cruise control system. Apparently locals really drive fast here, so I'm just trying to catch up with this guy. So this includes Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, and that includes, of course, adaptive cruise control, blind spot warning, rear cross traffic alerts, the whole camera system, yada, yada, yada. So let's go ahead and turn on the adaptive cruise. Just hit a button there. Turn on lane detect, hit set, and now we target a speed. And it shows me in the graphic here that there's a vehicle detected in front of me. It will keep me centered in the lane, although it's not a semi-autonomous system. It's not designed to do this for long periods of time. And it'll tell me to put my hands on the wheel in a moment here, eventually. We got a tight turn. Is it gonna do it? Is it gonna do it? Okay, there it goes, unavailable. The turn got too tight. But you can see that it actually does a really good job for this type of system. I mean, it doesn't have LiDAR or anything super fancy. But if you're doing interstate travel, that system can really cut down on fatigue. Okay, well, we've tested out all the features here. It's time to take this onto a trail and see what kind of trouble we can get into and out of. So here we are on the Big Island, and yeah, there are some off-road trails here. In fact, we found an off-road vehicle park, and we're gonna take this Grand Highlander out on it. Now, I don't know what kind of roads we have here, but we do need to be careful because these are, of course, all-season radials. What would you expect on a Grand Highlander, right? So we just need to be really careful because the rocks here are volcanic, and that means that any exposed rocks are gonna be extra sharp. So we gotta look out for that. On this road, what I'm going to be looking for is places where we can really test the articulation of the vehicle, really see how that power shifts left to right on these open differentials, because it uses individual wheel braking to stop wheels from spinning freely, which loses power from the system. Puts a brake on, it'll then allow that power to be used by the wheel that has grip, in theory. It's a system that is very common on all sorts of vehicles. It's very similar to the way the RAV4 deals with it. But on this one, having more power and having a slightly different all-wheel drive system, I think it's going to be interesting to see just how well this vehicle works. Because if this thing does decent off-road, like you can legit go up some rough trails, it's going to, I think, steal some sales from the bigger, more expensive Sequoia. So I haven't turned on trail mode yet because there's really nothing that's stressing the system. Obviously, this is just an access road. Man, this is really beautiful here. Of course, I mean, that's why people come to Hawaii, right? But just in particular, it's interesting because it feels like we're on top of a really large hill, but this hill at its peak has an elevation of 4,000 feet, which of course, this being a turbo, means it's really not affected by elevation, at least not so much as a naturally aspirated vehicle. So like at elevation, that's where the Telluride and Palisade twins kind of struggle because they have a naturally aspirated V6. Same thing with the Honda Pilot, naturally aspirated V6. But the turbo can compensate for the elevation, so you just don't lose power. We have our full 400 pound-feet of torque right here, right now. This is so cool. It's like prehistoric. It's like you expect to see a dinosaur around the corner. Of course, they did film Jurassic Park in Hawaii, so I guess that makes sense. Okay, here's our first little obstacle. It is a little bit of a gatekeeper. It's a drainage ditch and berm. So I am going to go ahead and switch this into mud sand mode, which will make it shift power left to right And what else we got going on here? Oh yeah, we're going to be testing the 8 inches of ground clearance to see if we scrape. And this is a pre-production car, so hopefully we don't scrape. This might be the very first off-road experience for the Grand Highlander. Okay, no scraping, good. Now we can do more difficult things. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and keep the mud and sand mode engaged, just in case we come up with anything difficult. But so far, this is super easy. But of course, this type of road is also the off-road that most people are thinking about. But you know, if you've actually done real off-roading, you know this is pretty much nothing. But that's okay. I'm not judging here. In fact, I would encourage you to go out and find roads like this, because it's not about necessarily challenging your vehicle, it's getting to just amazing destinations. So why does this vehicle exist if they have the Sequoia? The Sequoia is, of course, a body-on-frame vehicle, and it has a more powerful V6-based turbocharged hybrid system called iForce Max. It puts out more horsepower and more torque. You also get more towing. So if you need to tow, the Sequoia still may be the best choice. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more family friendly, has more cargo room in the back, I think that was a real miss with the Sequoia there. A vehicle like this really makes sense. Okay, this looks like a little bit of a challenge. Let's go ahead and we'll just drive through. Oh, it's not that bad. As I got closer, I could tell those ditches weren't as deep as I thought they were. So we're just gonna slowly go. Did I mention this is rolling on 20-inch wheels? One thing that is nice though, even though they are 20s, we still have a good amount of sidewall. So I'm not really too worried about punctures from pinching. I'm more worried about punctures from sharp lava rocks. Okay, here's a little bit of a drainage trench. Let's take a look. I'm really curious here. I'm feeling like we have some altitude. Let's see what our actual altitude is. What? We're currently at 6,000 feet. Holy moly, and I didn't even feel it with the engine. That's a good thing. Whew. Oh, let's turn on our camera. We got a view button down here. It turns on the surround view, which also gives me a trail cam function by painting under the vehicle what we have going on. I'm gonna cut the ditch a little bit because I really want to stress this system. So we're going to go down the side of the ditch, maybe lift a wheel, and then just throttle in. Yeah, no problem. We got to find something harder. Okay, and then now that we get moving a little quicker, the trail cam turns off. That's one thing I actually really like about the Honda Pilot Trail Sport, is that when you go over a set speed, it turns off the camera, but when you slow down, it turns it back on again. No such case here. I have to keep hitting the button. But at least it's not like Chevy, which buries it on the touchscreen. Here, I can just hit a button and it'll work. I mean, if I'm going slow enough. If I'm going slow enough. There we go. We got to be going about 5 miles per hour. So far, this main line is pretty boring. I think it's time to try one of the side roads. So I'm not like spraying gravel everywhere, because volcanic rock. You want to talk about something that's going to chip the paint and damage this vehicle that has other journalists waiting in line to go drive it? Yeah, not doing that with this one. We'll do that when we get it back home in Seattle. While this road is still fairly easy, let's talk about some of the potential misses with this vehicle. So far, I don't really see any. I mean, yeah, it's expensive, but you get a lot of power. Yeah, it's also big, but it's not as big as like the Sequoia. And I think in terms of competition, I mean, think about it. You know, what do we have here? We have Telluride, Palisade, Grand Cherokee L, all these vehicles. I think it really competes in that space nicely. And so I think that, you know, Toyota really has a winner on their hands. Now, eventually I will spend a little bit more time with this and probably put it up more challenging conditions than what we have here. But I think so far this vehicle seems like a real win. I want to get up to the top of that hill. I guess it's 6,000 feet. It's not really a hill anymore. That's a legit mountain. That's higher than Snoqualmie Pass in Washington State, which is only at like not even 4,000 feet. I just realized I set this to mud and sand. Now, mud and sand allows for more wheel slip, which we don't really need on rock. We really need something a little bit, you know, more aggressive in applying those brakes. So I'm going to put this over to rock and dirt, which I think is the proper setting for this condition, because of course it is rock and dirt. I'm going to try not to scrape the wheels. Thank you very much. Straddling this line a little bit. This is going to be good. Okay, we got a big rock over there. Of course, this does not have any skid plates because it's a Highlander. Why would it? Oh yeah, this is going to be good here. Okay, so this is exactly what I was looking for. Something to kind of put this all-wheel drive system to a little test here. Okay, we got wheels spinning. Now, on the outside, watch how power is being distributed. I'm just keeping throttle on even at about 5–10%. Adding a little more throttle, and up we climb. Try not to scrape anything in the process here. Listen for grinding on the approach. Nothing so far, we're doing good. Again, those wheels, it's lost traction here, so it's trying to clamp down with wheel brakes and shifting that power around. So good. I mean, really, I am so impressed with this new Grand Highlander. Nicely done, Toyota. Now let's continue up to the mountain and see if we can get an epic view from the top. By the way, note to Toyota marketing. Hire Christopher Lambert while he's still alive, because it is such a missed opportunity. Come on, what car do you need? There can be only one. Highlander. It writes itself. Any Highlander fans watching? Just me? Oh, we have a problem. Okay, it does appear as though our road is petering out, and we got big rocks, which all look very sharp and very volcanic. And then we got a big boulder in front. So let's turn on the camera, make sure I don't hit any big rocks here. Ooh, that's getting tight. Oh boy. Okay, I think this is the end of the road. And yeah, can I get over this? Probably, but let's not do it with a hand-built pre-production car. Let's take a look anyway. Okay, so taking a look at this, yes, we probably could get over this rock here, but it looks like it just continues on with more of the same. And this is clearly not a rock climbing vehicle. This is a family vehicle for road trips and fun outings, and maybe an adventure or two. But once we start getting into this large volcanic rock, some of which are definitely engine eaters, I think it's time to call this one good. Now, if you wanted to keep going on roads like this, that's where you need to start considering maybe the Sequoia TRD or maybe a 4Runner TRD. But let's talk about the vehicle right here. This is, of course, a fantastic vehicle. It fits that segment between Highlander and Sequoia that I didn't know we really needed to have filled. It does compete against a very crowded market. I mean, you're looking at Grand Cherokee L, Telluride, Palisade. You're also looking at the Honda Pilot, maybe even the Trail Sport in some upper trims. But I think that really with this vehicle, Toyota's got them all beat. Unless, big exception, if you're looking at a Trailhawk Grand Cherokee, that is going to get you more off-road capability, bar none. But, as everybody in the comments always reminds me, it's a Cherokee, and the build quality is questionable. Not my words, that's just what people post in the comments. So if you're looking at something that can bring the family to great locations like this, I think that the Grand Highlander here is an excellent vehicle. It fits the segment and it's awesome. Also, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, Original Grain. Save $100 off any of the new TRD line of watches that they have. They're really cool. I want to wear mine all the time. Go to originalgrain.com/DSTV, as in Driving Sports TV. And with that, I'm going to close this video from Hawaii. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share videos. We make them for you, and I hope you enjoyed them.